Ryan sat in his tiny apartment, staring blankly at his laptop screen. The words on the email blurred as tears welled up in his eyes. "We appreciate your effort, but unfortunately, we've decided to move forward with another candidate." Another rejection. The 10th this month, the 50th this year. He clenched his fists, his chest tightening as frustration and disappointment crashed over him like a tidal wave. For years, he had poured his heart into his dream. Late nights, countless sacrifices, missed family gatherings, skipped meals. And for what? To be told again and again that he wasn't good enough. His phone buzzed. A message from James, his childhood friend. "James, how's the startup going?" Ryan stared at the screen for a moment before typing back. "Ryan, another rejection. I think I'm done." A moment later, his phone rang. It was James. Ryan let it ring, but James called again. With a sigh, he answered. "Meet me at the old cafe, now," James said. His voice was firm, leaving no room for argument. Ryan considered ignoring him, but something inside him, a tiny spark of hope, perhaps made him grab his jacket and step outside. The cafe smelled of freshly brewed coffee, a scent Ryan had once associated with ambition and long work nights. Now it just reminded him of failure. James was already there, stirring his coffee. He looked up and grinned. "Still alive?" Ryan forced a chuckle. "Barely." James studied him for a moment. "You look like a guy who's about to give up on everything." Ryan exhaled sharply. "Because I am. James, I've done everything. I've worked harder than ever, and yet I keep failing. Maybe I'm just not meant for this." James leaned back, tapping his fingers against his cup. "Tell me something. Do you remember when we were kids learning to ride bikes?" Ryan frowned. "What does that have to do with anything?" James smiled slightly. "Just answer me." Ryan sighed. "Yeah, I remember. I fell. A lot." James nodded. "And did you give up?" "No," Ryan admitted. "I got back up and kept trying." "And what if you had given up after the first few falls?" James asked. Ryan was silent. He knew the answer. James leaned forward. "You see, failure isn't proof that you're not good enough. It's proof that you're trying, that you're growing, that you're on the right path. The only difference between people who succeed and people who don't is that successful people don't let failure stop them." Ryan swallowed the lump in his throat. He wanted to believe it, but the weight of failure still pressed heavily on his chest. James continued. "You know, how many times Thomas Edison failed before he invented the light bulb? 10,000. 10,000. And when someone asked him how it felt to fail that many times, do you know what he said?" Ryan shook his head. James smiled. He said, "I didn't fail. I just found 10,000 ways that didn't work." Ryan looked down at his coffee, his reflection staring back at him. For years, he had seen failure as a dead end. But what if James was right? What if failure wasn't the end, but the beginning? That night, Ryan sat at his desk once more. But this time, something was different. Instead of letting rejection define him, he started seeing it as a lesson. He analyzed every mistake, refined his ideas, and kept moving forward, one step at a time. Months later, after countless setbacks and sleepless nights, he got the email that changed everything. "We're excited about your vision and would love to invest in your startup." Ryan stared at the screen, his hands trembling. After everything, after every failure, every moment of doubt, he had finally made it. And at that moment, he realized James was right. Failure wasn't the opposite of success. It was the path to it. Failure isn't the end, it's just a step towards success. Keep pushing forward, no matter how many times you fall. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Tales by Fia for more motivational stories. Let me know in the comments, what's one challenge you've overcome through persistence?